This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. This is Saturday Morning Mysteries, and we're your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we're back for yet another episode of the Wild Thornberrys, the wildest family that ever existed on Nickelodeon, as far as I'm concerned. We've been having a lot of fun covering this show. I should say, I guess if you're new to the podcast, if you're just somehow happening upon us, we are a comedy crime recap podcast where we take animated shows, classic animated shows from our youth and even before then, and recount the episodes as if they were true crime stories. The Wild Thornberrys, not a show with a lot of crime, although there is a little bit in there, poaching and, hunting illegally some animals around the world. So it's more of like adventure type stories or survival stories, we'll say, that we've been covering with the Wild Thornberrys. But as we've learned in your last episode, Grace, Eliza Thornberry, our main character, is quite the international criminal herself.
Yes,
not respecting national borders or immigration laws and entry laws to different countries and all sorts of stuff. So on that note, I'm going to hand it back to you so that you can tell us yet another tale of the Thornberrys causing some mayhem, protecting some wildlife in some part of the world. Yes.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought up, I guess, just my previous episode, but in general, previous episodes, because I realized our last two, I think, we didn't do the what should have killed them in the episode. Arc and count. So in my last one, where Yes was in Bhutan, it would have been Border Patrol probably killing Eliza as she crossed in illegally to the country. And like the flash flood, I guess, but like mainly, and like throwing themselves off a mountainside, but mainly probably Border
Patrol. That would have been the first line of defense. Wow. So I guess in my vampire episode, it would have been probably rabies. Rabies from getting bit by a vampire, and or the villain himself in that episode, who was freaking wild.
Absolutely a serial killer.
He was absolutely a serial killer and a kidnapper, and I guess maybe like a low-key stalker or something. So
he was ramping up to be a murderer.
He was, maybe even attempted murder.
Yes, go back and
listen to last week's episode if you have not already. So that kind of catches us up on that, and we will not forget to do that kind of countdown at the end of this episode. I'm sure there will be a lot.
Yes, because it turns out, lots of things should have killed the members of the Thornberry family, and as you just heard in our last two episodes, part of that is other humans. So today I am doing season 2, episode 6, entitled Clash of the, I don't really know how to say this word, Clash of the Teutons, which is a play on Clash of the Titans. And Teutons, according to the internet, is a member of the ancient, probably Germanic or Celtic people, which is relevant because Nigel is British. So like, probably has some Celtic roots mixed up in there
somewhere.
And we also have Germans in this episode. Thus, clash of the Celts and Germans.
The Germans. Ooh.
Ooh. But we're not in Germany. We're in Australia. So.
So neither.
Yes, there are Germans in this episode and Celts in this episode. Celtic people, but we're not in either of those places. We're in Australia. Specifically in the Great Dividing Range of Australia, which is this huge conglomeration of mountain ranges. Specifically in this episode, we're kind of in like the southeast corner of Australia, and in a portion of this range where apparently it snows. So we join the Thornberrys, and it's snowing. They're up in the mountains. Debbie is very adorably teaching Donnie, who's wearing like a little oversized onesie and like a little beanie. And Darwin about the snow, like how to make and throw snowballs, how to catch snowflakes on your tongue, which I only mentioned because then Donnie immediately runs up to Debbie and just like licks her face because he's a little animal. And licks everything else around him.
Pleases her greatly.
Yes, she immediately goes inside the comfy.
Yeah.
Where we do join Eliza and Nigel, who, this has nothing to do with the plot, but I just mentioned this because it was disgusting. They're making sardine sandwiches inside of the comfy, which feels like a sin. That must smell so bad. That's an outside only. Yeah, not in an RV.
I mean, if you're gonna have it at all, then eat that shit outside.
Yeah, don't make that sandwich inside.
A sardine sandwich. Like, what else do you even put on? Imagine if it was just bread and sardines. That's what it looks like. No, like lettuce.
I didn't see them do anything else. It was like bread, laying sardines down. That's all I saw. I saw no other
sardines common in this area.
I don't think so. I think they just preserve really well. So if you're on the road all the time, whatever. Anyways, disgusting. They're
like survivors. They eat like survival food only.
Yeah, at all times. You know, they're like in Australia, they could go get food.
Right, anytime.
Anytime. Anyways, so then Marianne is also in there, and she's just getting off the radio. They're like satellite radio with the Foundation. And so as a reminder, the Foundation is basically something like National Geographic, BBC, or something like that. And it funds all of their documentary work. And Marianne looks super stressed when she hangs up the radio. And she tells the family that the Foundation liked their last film, but they need the next one to be zippier, to be hipper, have a little more pizzazz, a little more razzle dazzle to it.
Okay.
Yes, Nigel and Eliza have the exact same reaction of you, of like,
okay,
what? Our material is fantastic.
Yeah.
What are they talking about? And
it's
Debbie
educational.
Exactly. They're like, what more do you need? It does cut. I didn't write this down. That does cut to like a scene in their last film where Nigel's like, I don't remember what animal it was, but it's like, now come witness like the morning glory of this rare species. And it's like, ta-da! And then she's like this little like, I don't know, muskrat or some shit, just like slowly walk out of its hole, like look around and it's too sunny and just like backs back up into it. And Nigel's like, fascinating. And Eliza and Nigel
magic
are like, see? Razzle dazzle.
Debbie and Marianne are like asleep. Like, what was
well,
that?
Debbie does pipe in and she's like, yes, fucking finally, let's make these films spunkier. Because she is indeed bored by them. But Marianne, kind of similar to what you just said of like, this is educational. Like, what's not entertaining about that? And you know what? And she's literally like slamming her fist. She's like, our job is to get out there and tell it like it is. We get the truth out. God damn it. She doesn't say God damn it, but like,
wish you would have.
They cut away right before she says that, probably. So yeah. So she's like, but you know, Marianne, obviously ever the determined woman, also the one who clearly keeps the family together and their livelihood, says like, you know what? We're just going to have to find a way to do both in this next film, aka tell it like it is, speak the truth, and pizzazz, wow them, etc., etc. But luckily, they are in this area for a very special animal, one that is not often seen in the wild or ever captured on camera, according to Nigel. And this is the leadbeater's possum. And so the leadbeater's possum is a critically endangered possum in Australia. It by how it looks like a little bit like a little sugar glider, like that kind of animal, maybe like a little bigger. Yeah. But yeah, it's like a little kind of mixture between a sugar glider and like what are they called? Shoot, I don't know, but just like like a bush baby, so it has like huge eyes.
Baby. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cute. Leadbeater's possum, according to Wikipedia, is sometimes known as a fairy possum because it's like so little and so rare to actually see it. So I thought that was a cute name, little fairy possum. But it is accurate that it's super rare. It's critically endangered. So if they can indeed get this on camera, like that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So as the family hypes themselves up on this little possum, the ground around them starts to shake and they run outside, pardon me, see this huge multi-decker all black bus roll through the woods to them. It's like 3 times the size of the Comfy. It kind of looks like a submarine. Yeah, it's fucking huge. It kind of looks like if all of the Bond villains had like a little like tourist bus to like see the sights together
for their groupies.
That's what this would be. Like they go on like group vacay together to Australia and they got to go on a tour. Like that's what this tour bus is.
Nice.
And the Bond villainess of it is just emphasized even more because when it does stop, it's like super high tech and you hear all this like gadget noises as like from, again, like 3 stories up. It's like huge. Like a door opens up almost like a alien spaceship type of thing. And like an escalator like automatically comes out.
Goodness. And
carrying on it is 2 people that, again, reemphasizes my theory of Bond villain tour bus, because out comes riding down this escalator 2 very sharp-jawed, pale, blonde-haired, fully decked out in like leather and like fur-lined winter clothing. Germans.
I was gonna say, are these the Germans? Damn it. It's like they're either German or they're Swedish, if my pop culture knowledge is of any use right now.
Ding, ding, ding. They nice. Sure are.
Nice. I love it.
And these Hans, 2 Germans.
Perhaps. No, sorry. Go ahead. No. Shit.
Franz.
Oh.
You were real close.
Damn.
These 2 Germans are Franz and Frieda Fensterkoff. So Frieda, the wife / mother of this family, is very narrowed-faced, very calm, cold, like has no emotion or reaction at all. And Franz is like basically built like a very square-jawed like linebacker. And they, like the Thornberrys, have 2 kids. They've got Liesel, who is a fully like emo like scene kid teenager mixed with like a German April Ludgate is like the vibe of her.
Okay.
And then they have Dieter, who in classic any cartoon of a young German boy form, he's blonde, Augustus Gloop-esque.
Plumpy.
Low plumpy.
Okay.
And he is very enthusiastic and loves all of like the tech. He's like obsessed with the tech that his family is also obsessed with.
Can I ask a quick question about Liesel? So that's a girl, right?
Yes.
You said? Okay.
Yeah.
When you say like emo scene kid, please tell me she has hair just like in front of one of her eyes.
It's not, she didn't straighten the bangs, but she does have the swoop. And if she straightened them, it would be full scene kid.
Okay, cool.
This was like what, season 2? So it was 1999-ish. She was paving the way for scene kids.
Wonderful.
That were to come only years later.
Yes.
But yes, the vibe is exactly that.
Fall Out Boy saw this episode and was like, oh my God, we should start a band.
She even has like the beanie, which like also like emphasizes the swoop a little bit. Like it really sticks it out. It's perfect.
For those who are just listening to the podcast, you missed it. Grace just tried to imitate what it looks like to have a beanie.
Beanie with the scene in her hair.
If you're watching on YouTube,
not bangs.
Then you see how majestic that was.
Yeah, I'm still obviously a scene kid. Wolf.
With your purple hair.
I know. Cut to my like very black. Bright background.
Hi.
Anyways, also like the Thornberrys, the Fensterkoffs are also nature documentarians. And as soon as the families see each other, they recognize each other. Like it's a small enough world when you're an elite filmmaker, nature filmmaker, that you know each other.
Yeah.
And Franz throws his arms open at the Thornberrys, exclaiming how happy he is to see them. And Nigel seems very nervous. He's like, oh, hello, Franz. Marianne is not stoked to see them. She clearly thinks that they are obnoxious as fuck. Similarly, somewhat, Dieter is stoked to see Eliza because we learned they've attended like naturalist camps together.
Huh.
But Eliza, like her mom, is not stoked to see him.
Iron.
Yeah, she's just like, Jesus Christ, this guy. But not just that, because we immediately see their dynamic is one of pure rivalry. Because that's right, this is Eliza's nemesis.
Okay.
Full nemesis mode. Dieter doesn't wait a beat to remind her that at the last camp that he's the one who won first place in the canoe race, and she only got second
German
place.
Grace.
Oh, it's going to come up multiple times.
Yes.
Will it go Swedish sometimes? Probably.
Maybe.
I don't know. Will it turn into nothing? Probably. We'll find out.
We'll see.
But like Eliza is literally just like grinding her teeth, and they immediately start like arguing and trying to one up each other. Like Dieter pulls out a gadget that he's made, or like his family has, that says it can call any animal to it by like making an animal call. And so he presses it.
Eliza's probably like, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
He presses it and like it starts making a chimp noise. So Darwin comes up to it, but he's being like, this chimp sounds like an idiot. Like it's just talking about like applesauce. Like what the fuck is wrong with this thing? And Eliza literally says, oh, you only got one animal? Watch this. And she like goes off into the bushes for a second and comes back with an entire family of foxes following her. She's like, only one animal. So yes, Eliza was literally like, who do you think you are?
How cute. Yeah.
Adorable.
My family doesn't even know it, but they have a much better animal translator than you all do.
Will ever be.
Yeah.
So basically, from here on out, you should know it's fucking on between them. It's gonna go down, baby. And then we have the teenagers as Eliza and Dieter. Full rival mode, full battle mode. Liesel walks up to Debbie and they just stare at each other for a second in like slouching teenage angst. And then Liesel tells Debbie that she brought her latest like CDs with her. And Debbie's just like, cool, you want to go to the conv and listen? And Liesel just like, sure. And then they just go to the conv.
Best friends forever.
They are. There's another moment where I'm like, is Debbie in love with Liesel? Maybe. Okay, I just think they're truly kindred spirits. So while the teens go off to listen to music, the youth are just battling, arguing, etc., etc. Frida and Franz invite Nigel and Marianne to watch their latest film that they just released, and it's been a hit so far. And we see that like Nigel and Marianne are about to very clearly say like, no, we got to go find this possum. But instead of waiting for any type of response, Franz and Frida unload this like giant metal box from their bus, and they hit a button and you just hear like a and like literally it's this like portable full on theater. Like out comes like theater lounge chairs, a full screen, surround sound, a popcorn machine, like fully full on. Would love to have this personally.
Yeah.
It's a cool imagine.
Okay.
Marianne looks stressed about this, and Nigel reminds her, like, look, just because they have all this fancy equipment, Marianne, like, it doesn't mean they're better than us. It's fine. Do you have a
better
question?
than us.
I you know better than us.
I have so many thoughts, not so much question. I guess maybe like rhetorical questions because you didn't write this episode. You don't know, but like this episode of Thornberrys, obviously. But like that doesn't seem too conservation friendly. And or it just seems very loud and like it would drive animals away and scare them off. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway.
This is I
So
will
just more
say
thoughts I'm saying. Like you guys seem too hip for this line of work, but apparently they're good at their job. So we'll believe the Germans.
Only the Germans. They love their tech.
Yes.
So they just start playing the movie and it starts with like this intense, again, I just kept thinking of James Bond in this episode, like Bond music happening and like this build up and it's like and we see like freeze frames of predators with like their like mouths open about to attack. And then it like title card comes up, The Fury of Nature. And then we cut to Franz in all black with like the most like partially cut like above and below shots as his voice both like booms and like echoes like, today we are in the savage heart of Australia. Yeah. And like this huge build up and he's like waving his fists and then it cuts to, again with like dramatic music, a frog. Cut to a mouse walking by the frog. Cut to the frog leaping on the mouse. Ooh, and Nigel.
Okay. Well, hold on now. This may be kind of cool.
Ready of nature.
Yeah.
Nigel watching this is like, oh, well, this is very energetic. And he asks Franz, he's like, is that, he basically says like, is it common for that type of frog to actually attack a mouse like that? And Franz, pissed that his film debut was interrupted, like slams the TV off and turns and like scoffs at Nigel and says like, don't you know, all wild animals can get bloodlust. It's like, okay, Franz.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Just like, eat your popcorn from the popcorn machine, Franz. Does this mean you have bloodlust?
Marianne and Nigel just take 2 steps to the side.
They just like slide out of their theater chair.
Yeah.
Walk back to the convy. But I mean, somewhat similarly, Nigel and Marianne immediately changed the subject away from Franz getting his own bloodlust, apparently. And they just start kind of talking about like what brings you guys here to our turf in Australia. And it turns out they're all there to actually get that footy of the lead beater possum.
Okay.
So when they learn that they're all there for the same thing, Franz is like, oh, hell yeah. Like, we can work together. And Marianne's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, these people.
I hate you.
Yeah, so much. But interestingly, actually, to what your rhetorical thought was, it kind of comes out that like Marianne, like this is like clearly Nigel and Marianne feel some ways about the Fensterkoffs.
Yeah.
Including like a little bit of them is like, fuck, they're gonna go find this possum first because they have all this like high-tech equipment. We could go with them, but like we hate it's so
we
loud.
Hate them.
It's disturbing. Yeah, Marianne's almost like, I hate their guts. She pulls back. But Nigel is like, not to worry, Marianne. We have the greatest tracking device of all time. And then taps his huge nose.
Not wrong. Also, I would just like to note that was like half British, half German. That accent.
Nigel is going to be everything this episode. We've established. Actually, I did tell Alexis before our very first Thornberrys episode that like alone in my house one day, I attempted a Tim Curry accent and had one line and was like, I can't do it. I can't offend him like this.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry,
there's
Mr.
only
Curry.
one Tim Curry.
Yep. And so we've just not attempted to do it anymore. But today, who knows what's happening? The German accent, as we know,
we'll see.
It's going to be a wild card. Anything could happen. So yes, they decide pretty like kind of like silently to be like, all right, we're not going to go with them. Like, we're just going to go kind of sneak off while they get all of their big equipment. And they're like, we'll be able to hear them coming. we're just going to go. We'll be ready first. All we need is a camera. Meanwhile, Liesel shows up at the COMV with this like huge, crazy stereo system and a bunch of soda. And she like sets it up for Debbie, who's just like, you're the coolest person I know. Because again, I think she's just like, oh, thank fuck there's a teenager here, but I like to
right
with Liesel. Liesel hits play on the stereo and it starts absolutely fucking bumping. What I can only describe as like, do you remember some of the opening scenes of The Matrix in the club where it's like German house music?
Yeah.
That is what starts playing. It's like
I was gonna try to
1999.
imitate it, but I won't. Yeah, I know
It is the
exactly.
peak. Yes.
Like that or like Blade, that movie. Just yes, I know
It is
exactly.
those two soundtracks.
Yes.
But like just the house music German version from those soundtracks. Just fucking like rattling the COMV. So that's what they're doing. I'm just gonna keep mentioning them because it's incredible.
Again, animals like fleeing. Like fuck. Yeah.
She's like, ah! Animals having a heart attack because they've never heard this music before, and the COMV is shaking.
They open the windows to the COMV. A bunch of those like possums are just like dead outside.
And this teenager's probably like, or Lisa's probably like, oh, possums sometimes play dead. It's fine. And shuts the window
It's
again.
like, yeah, they do, but like
True.
these
But
are also in danger. these ones aren't playing.
Yeah, these ones you have just murdered with your dub music, your EDM.
Thanks.
So double, meanwhile, Eliza and Darwin at this point have ditched Dieter because they're like, this fucking try hard over here, unimpressed. And they want to help their parents out, who they kind of overheard the possum situation going on. And so they're like, we'll help mom and dad find this possum before the Fensterkoffs do, so that like mom and dad can get the rare shot first. So as they're wandering up the woods and kind of like, again, it's in a mountain range, so they're kind of like going up like on like uphill, I guess, like on a little peak. They come across this clearing that is basically like a full-on like film set. There's like scaffolding with lights, a shitload of like super crazy cameras, sound equipment, like sounds like control boards, like all of this stuff everywhere. And they're super confused until Dieter, who fucking followed them, because again,
creepy,
try hard, desperate, etc., stumbles out of the woods too. And Eliza is like, Dieter, the fuck is all of this? Like, clearly it's y'all's shit. Like, you're the only other filmmakers here in the middle of the woods and mountains here in Australia. And Dieter is like, gets really nervous when she starts asking him this. And he basically fesses up and is like, this is where my dad films. What accent was that right there? Not sure. This is where my dad films his introductions. I don't know what that is anymore.
Maybe Transylvanian.
Yeah, I think I
Romanian.
to go into Romania there. Basically, he's saying like this is where his dad films like those super dramatic introductions. That's why there's so many cameras. They got to get all those hard angle shots. And Eliza is like, psh, my dad's introductions are him and one camera that my mom like films, and look how successful we are. Basically being like, look at all this extra shit you guys need. Clearly, y'all suck. We rock.
Yes.
Sucks to suck, you nerd. Even though she's the biggest nerd.
Yeah, anyway, the whole family, like, they're way nerdier than the Finkel. What are they called? Finkelkoffs? Finkel? I don't even know their name.
The Fensterkoff.
Finsterkoff. Okay, cool.
I like Finkelkoffs, though. But Dieter is clearly trying to like get the fuck out of this area. He doesn't want to be near all of his dad's equipment, his mom and dad's equipment. So he challenges Eliza to basically, I don't know, he was like, I bet I can get to the top of the summit first, or some shit like that. And it clearly, because like I said, it's on to the break of dawn between them. She immediately takes him up on the challenge and is like, oh, hell no, I'm gonna get to the top of this first. And so, a brief side note here, because maybe in our first episode, one of our past episodes, you wondered aloud whether or not Eliza can turn her powers on and off to talk to animals.
Yeah.
And in this scene, I started wondering that too. Part of me says, maybe that is possible. Another part of me says, in this moment, the powers don't get turned off like by her choice, but instead by the pure blindness of rage against her nemesis takes her full focus. Because as they walk away from the set, we see something that's low-key pretty fucked up and our first hint of a crime in this episode. Because we see hidden behind all of this equipment is a cage with a little platypus in it who is actively screaming for help. And Eliza, full of rage and hatred in her heart, does not fucking hear it and walks away. It is, I'm not going to lie, Alexis.
She doesn't hear it. Like, it's clear she doesn't hear it. It's not like she's like, oh, see nothing, say nothing.
No, it like, we see them like walk out of camp and like one of them, I think Darwin accidentally like catches like a little curtain that had been covering it. And like, as he walks away, he like drags the curtain a little bit with him, but he's a chimp. He doesn't have this power. So he just keeps walking. And then we cut to seeing what was behind the curtain, little baby platypus in this big cage. It like, Alexis, no joke. This episode was like, I know we like make up crimes and talk about crimes on all the other episodes. And we're like, this is so funny. See, this was like full on like Sarah McLachlan Angel SCPA commercial. Like
Angel.
This little platypus.
Will you donate $5 a month to save this little platypus who has been captured by a German family? Your donation can save the lives of platypus all over the world. From
the hands of Germans.
Sarah McLachlan holding a platypus, just petting it. You see like the slideshow of like the fade in and fade out of just sad platypus.
But they're all like in like Munich or like Frankfurt, like clearly like in Germany. This is a very targeted ad.
The most German like landmarks and stuff, and just platypus.
There's a platypus in later
ahead of a platypus with like
a platypus at Oktoberfest.
Like trying to not get stomped on.
Drunk people all around.
And you see like a stein of beer like fall right by the platypus. It fades out. Then you see another one just walking the streets of Munich alone.
Scared and alone. Just
Sarah McLachlan narrating the entire
in the arms of nature. Yeah, Germany has a real big platypus abuse problem.
You guys got to get that figured out if any Germans are listening.
Because, like Marianne, we at Saturday Morning Mysteries are here to tell it like it is.
We're about facts. Hard-hitting facts only.
Also,
meanwhile, misinformation ban is like floating underneath our YouTube video. There is no evidence that Germans abuse platypuses, or that platypuses even are native to Germany, or even
or anywhere in Germany at any point in time, even in a zoo.
Hard hitting facts.
In the arms of I will say this whole episode, with all of my poor German accents, this whole time I'm just like, oh God, I'm so sorry to Katie Albers, who's definitely listening into the most German ever, and I know I'm offending her with my accent.
Sorry, Katie, and to your entire family.
I'm so sorry. So, as Eliza and Dieter and Darwin, along for the ride, are trying to figure their way up this mountain, they're just doing a bunch of little like who's better than who contests the whole way up, trying to one up each other. At one point, they like climb this big tree, and the rivalry we see is continuing to escalate because Dieter has some like fancy tracker, and he's like, oh, we're at this elevation. And Eliza corrects him with her natural instinct, saying, actually, we're at this elevation. And it's like 3 meters higher.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
she's like, oh, we're also going, northwest by blah, blah, blah degrees. And then he corrects her with his little tracking device by another like 3 degrees. It's all real annoying. Darwin is like,
where are we?
Yeah.
Also, these two are totally going to get married one day.
We're
I hear wedding
at the end.
Yeah. Liesel and Debbie will get married, and then Eliza and Dieter will get married. It'll be a whole weird thing, but whatever, they'll make it work.
A whole weird thing that I hate the concept of. Yeah. I have a lot of questions about.
I can't help that the writers put this chemistry in this episode.
This pure raw tension of these 10-year-olds.
Yeah. Anyways,
hold this thought for the end. I have a theory.
Okay.
So yes, it's all very annoying. Dieter hops out of the tree to like keep leading the way up the mountain, and while Eliza and Darwin are leaving the tree, Eliza notices like some stuff with the branches and leaves and is like, oh shit, wait, like this is possum tracking signs, whatever that means. And as she's crawling out to like the edge of one of the branches, it breaks, but Darwin catches her by the ankles, which perfectly not only saves her life, but brings her face to face as she's like dangling with a leadbeater possum.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, she starts talking to this little possum who at first is like freaked out, I think, by a human, but then also like, I mean, maybe she's seen humans before. This little possum is probably like, what the fuck is that? When she looks at Darwin, what the fuck is a chimpanzee in my tree in the mountains of Australia? Like, is that a predator? The fuck is going on here? This possum is terrified.
Yes.
And I think that's why.
Probably. Thanks, Darwin.
Thanks, Darwin. But Eliza gives her some snacks, which like is also a very bad thing to do to wildlife, especially human food. But in doing this, Eliza's showing like, look, we're safe. I got you, girl. I have some people who would really love to meet you. And the possum is like flattered. She's like kind of nervous, but she's kind of like, oh my God, me? Like little old me? And Eliza's like, yes, like you're a pretty big deal. We would love to film you. But as she's having this conversation with this little possum, Dieter is down below, egging Eliza on about how slow she is and like, come on, get it moving. Like she can't even get out of this tree. So instead of having Eliza, instead of going with the possum to like escort her, aka the possum, to find her family, she just tells this creature like, all right, so go down the valley. There'll be some people. Go find them. Okay, good luck. Bye. And then she hops out of the tree.
That animal is going to die. Animal's going to get killed.
Goes to Dieter because she's, you know what? Some things can wait, but you know what can't? Love. And hatred. So,
which are this close together.
Which at this age, it's a real confusing line. Yeah. Real gray area. So she catches back up with Dieter, who's just bragging away about all of his accolades he has in Germany. He's a champion skier. He's a champion climber. Most importantly, he's a champion yodeler, which is obviously a great honor in Germany.
Yes.
So they continue to go further and further up the mountain, just again trying to brag about all of their various accomplishments. Again, Darwin's like, what the fuck is this? Or he's like, I'm gonna tell this story at your wedding.
Yeah.
One of the two.
You just see a chimpanzee like,
yeah.
Everyone at the wedding is like,
but if they know Eliza, no one would be surprised.
No, yeah. I guess she speaks chimp like half the time.
She's crying from its beauty. No one else gets it. So as they're hiking up, they come to this like pretty huge crevasse. So like this basically this break in the ground, in the side of the mountain here. And Eliza is like, oh, Dieter, you're so cool. Get across this crevasse. So
are you cool enough to almost off yourself? To unalive yourself? How cool are you?
You're so cool. I bet you won't face death willingly.
Yeah.
And Dieter responds basically like, I've done shit like this in Germany with a sprained ankle. Eliza looks unimpressed and he goes, no, with 2 sprained ankles. Which like, sir.
Wait. On crutches?
Yeah, you're not even good at lying or whatever. But he quickly flips it and reverses it and says, like, I wouldn't expect you to be able to do this, Eliza.
Ooh, burn.
At this point, Eliza's vision must just, I think just all she sees is red right now. Like pure, unadulterated rage takes over Eliza. Because she, as soon as he finishes that comment, sprints to the crevasse and like an idiot tries to leap across it in full force. She's a small child. This is a huge, huge crevasse. She does not stick the landing. I will say, luckily, she does truly by literally like the skin of her teeth, like not the skin of her teeth, but by her fingertips, just barely manages to grab the edge of the other side, just barely avoiding falling to her death. Naturally, she starts screaming for help. Also, naturally, Darwin and Dieter start screaming for help because they're oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like, oh, God, because she's like truly crawling, like trying to get up. There's snow on the other side. This ain't like mud to dig into. It's snow and ice. It's a crevasse. This ain't looking good.
No. Cut
to the nearest people at this point in the mountain, which is the convy.
I knew it. I was like,
cut to the convy shaking, and inside the convy where they're sitting at like the little like dinner table in the convy.
The thing you say next could be the convy shaking. Like, oh no. I mean, I know why it's shaking, but
yeah, I shouldn't phrase it like that. Sorry,
it's Nickelodeon. We can assume that it's appropriate.
Exactly.
Anyways,
but we see Debbie. Like they're both on like one side of the bench. Debbie just like head banging to the music. Liesel just like barely nodding her head as it's still full blast German house music. You cannot hear the screams for help.
No.
At all. So these two are having a great day while everyone else is having a bad day.
Man, let's hope Cecil uses some of that athleticism that he has being a champion. What was it? Skier,
climber, yodeler.
Yeah, he should be able to save her, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So
for sure. That definitely wasn't German.
Honestly, I've already offended everyone with my roving German accent, if you will.
We're
just going to keep it going.
Nomadic Germans, they exist probably.
So luckily, Eliza is a freakishly strong kid. She's able to just barely pull herself up off of death's doorstep. And as soon as she's on the other side of the crevasse, instead of being like, phew, that was scary, let's try and find a way for me to go get back or like find another way around this so we can get home, I am scared for the day. Instead of that, she immediately whips to face Dieter, who's across the crevasse, and basically says, all right, let's see you do it, you little bitch. Like, let's go. So she starts egging Dieter on to also cross this crevasse. Dieter is clearly terrified, but one, doesn't want to back down from Eliza, who's like trying to goat him on, but two, isn't as dumb as Eliza is. So yeah, instead of just jumping across, he goes and he finds like a big fallen tree trunk, and like lays it across the crevasse. So it makes like a little bridge situation. He does make Darwin crawl over it first because he's still pretty scared.
Yes.
But once Darwin gets across, Dieter, like on his hands and knees, hugs onto the log and like crawls across as well. Eliza, we've seen our previous episodes. She's kind of a dick sometimes. Because she, as he's like making his way across, is like laughing at how scared he is over this. And right as he finishes crossing, the log falls into the crevasse. Eliza at last second has to like pull him to make sure he doesn't fall down with it. And in that near-death experience from Dieter, as soon as he's on solid ground again, because he did almost kind of fall down in there, Eliza did have to save him. He starts crying and breaks down, apologizing that like he this whole time has just been trying to be a big show off. He's been trying to impress Eliza because she's so cool, and like he just wishes he could be as cool as she is. And like, I'm so sorry.
This
and
is
Eliza,
how like 10-year-old boys flirt.
He's like, this is all society has shown me what to do. But look, I'm better than that. I'm realizing being a dick was not the way to flirt about my feelings as a 10-year-old. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And instead of Eliza being like, yeah, we both almost just died and that was scary. Or instead of her being like, yeah, I'm sorry too. I was also being a dick and trying to impress you. Eliza yells at him and tells him to stay away from her and storms off, just leaving him crying in the snow.
Dude,
yeah.
Just like, okay, all right, whatever. What an asshole.
Yeah.
Eliza.
Darwin, though, is like team reality here and is like, he's like waving his arms. He's like, we're going to freeze to death. No one knows where we are. We can't get about this crevasse. Like, we go and die. Like, we can't be separating. This is bad. And as Eliza is like pouting off in the snow, so mad about, I don't know what, her confusing feelings.
Her feelings.
Out from the trees comes a little echidna, which little echidnas are very cute as well. They're like they're known as like spiny anteaters because like they have little quills on them, but like they're these cute little things with long noses, like a little anteater does. And fun fact, like a platypus, they are the only other living mammal that lays eggs.
Oh, cool.
So it's a little fun fact for you. They're the only two. So Eliza is like, hey, what's up, little echidna? Is there any way you can help us out? Like, is there any way not around this huge crevasse? And at first the echidna is like, oh my God, yeah, I'll help you out. Like, for sure, I'll help you find a way back. Like, yeah, that's scary. But then this little echidna sees Dieter, who Eliza didn't go too far from. He's still an eye shot. Sees Dieter, and the echidna screams and says, it's one of them. And
one of the Germans.
and turns and runs away. We see as the echidna walks away, or runs away rather, he has a hurt little tail. And so this vindicates Eliza in her rage against Dieter. And she storms back to Dieter, who's still crying, laying in the snow, or like sitting in the snow, and demands to know, why are animals scared of him? What are you guys actually doing here? Like, what is your problem? And Dieter, through his tears, is saying, like, we're just making films too. But he's got some shifty ass eyes in this moment. So Eliza gets directly in his face, like inches away, screaming at him and demands to know the truth. She's basically screaming like, give me the truth, Dieter. And Dieter, certainly not quite yet the Bond level evil genius that perhaps his parents are, quickly breaks down during this interrogation run by the world's scariest adversary, a preteen girl. Who will break you down like no one has ever before. So he explains that, yes, his family is there to film animals, but not like the Thornberrys do. Instead, his parents force animals to fight each other in the movies, oftentimes actually hurting the animals in the process.
Mm.
And I quote, and this is like both hilarious and sad. Dieter goes, Papa says we are entertainers now, not documentarians. So like they are entertainers. They are Hollywood actors
yes.
now, not
wow.
filmmakers.
Wow.
So yes, we basically learned that his parents plan to find this possum, make it fight a platypus that they've already captured. Which
gotcha. Yeah.
Weird matchup, but like that is what fury of nature actually is.
Like celebrity death match, but for animals. Animal death match. Which okay, I was going to save it for the end of the episode, but maybe I'll just very quickly say it right now. When you were describing the scene earlier with the frog jumping on the mouse, in my mind, I was like, what is this, like CGI? And so I'm glad now to know that it is all orchestrated, even if it isn't CGI.
Yeah.
And then when you said that a platypus was in a cage, it was like, what are they doing? Filming cage matches? They're like Michael Vick.
The German Michael Vick.
Yeah. Michael Vick was inspired.
Inspired by this episode. Great.
Yeah.
Well, relevant that you mentioned that, because this, I guess, here is indeed our crime. This illegal animal fighting rings. So yes, they have discovered an illegal crime fighting ring. And Eliza is not only obviously pissed about this information and like this, yes, international crime going on, this stain on the purity of naturalist filmmaking that her family holds so true.
Yeah.
But also Eliza kind of realizes that she sent the possum down to the valley where the humans are. She didn't describe which humans to stop for. She just said,
oh no,
there's people down there who want to meet you. And so she says, oh, hey, Dieter. That's crazy. What happens if your parents find the possum first? And Dieter stops crying, just stares off into the distance and slowly shakes his head and says, Zen, I wouldn't want to be that possum.
Oh, shit.
It's scary.
What? So I don't know if I can say this for Liesel, but Dieter is absolutely abused by his parents. If not physically, at least psychologically.
Alexis.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
Save that thought for the end.
Oh, shit. Okay.
There's more than one crime in this episode, okay?
Oh no.
I shouldn't be laugh crying about this.
I know, but yeah. It's a cartoon, so it's funny, right?
So anyways, save all of these thoughts.
Okay. Putting pins everywhere.
Yeah, we don't want to put a pin in this one, but I need you to.
Okay.
So if this news wasn't violent enough for a children's show, we cut to the parents in the valley below. Luckily, the possum finds Marianne and Nigel first. And right as they're getting their camera out to film it, we hear, as you said earlier on even, because you are calling so much in the episode, a very fucking loud robotic noise. Like all of the high-tech equipment is so loud. But my jaw literally dropped to the floor in this scene because we see, like from a nearby tree, a full-on like vending machine robotic claw come down from a tree, snatch the possum. It like flies back to Franz and Frida, like up a valley kind of, who have been following Nigel and Marianne this whole time because they knew they would find the possum first. But then the possum, creepy. Yeah, very creepy. They're like hiding in the bushes. They like pop out of nowhere. We see the possum get dropped from this metal claw into a metal box that Frida and Franz were holding. Franz starts cackling as we literally see like this little terrified possum get dropped into a metal box that then closes. Most terrifyingly, because Franz is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's like hyped. He's punching the air. Hilariously, he goes, "It is time for Thunder Down Under." Clearly not knowing that's also the name of an all-male strip show in Las Vegas.
Or maybe he does know.
He just starts stripping right there. Get your camera out.
The possum just looks even more terrified, staring at it, and the platypus, both of them.
We don't want this.
Stop, make it stop.
But like, even more terrifying, like as Franz like dashes off to the woods to like go kidnap, I guess, this possum, Frida, who's the one holding the box, has no reaction at all. Like literally this little possum is like shaking and crying, and Frida just like presses the button for the box to close and then follows, just walks behind Franz. This bitch has killed and will kill again.
Stone cold. Oh my God.
Where do you think they get the furs for her coats?
What?
Just a thought.
She kills him herself.
Exactly. She's like,
Wow.
I will. It is only a pure coat if it is stained in their blood, basically. So Nigel and Marianne are like, what just happened? And like, oh, fuck, this animal is clearly in danger. It'll be faster to try and find them if we go back to the Comv rather than on foot, because they just like dashed off to the woods. We're going to get fucking lost if we try and find them there. So
who's funding this? Sorry. Like what?
Yeah, they have a lot of tech, a lot of expensive tech. Are they Bond villains?
That's what I was gonna say. This is like straight up Bond villain type stuff. Like no reasonable foundation would be okay with this or have the money for this type of equipment. Anyway,
nope.
Go ahead.
So again, meanwhile, Dieter, Darwin, and Eliza are now like, well, we got to get back down there to save this fucking possum. Thanks, Dieter. So in a moment of pure German heroism, Dieter steps to the edge of the crevasse and says, I will yodel for help.
Okay. So that's his superpower.
He stands at the edge of the crevasse, takes a huge, deep, yodeling breath in, and then is his yodel. Oh. And he starts shivering and says, I am too cold to yodel. Which, like, isn't Germany pretty fucking cold?
Yeah.
You yodel in all elements.
I feel like the stereotypical depiction of a yodeler is literally someone on top of a snow-capped mountain.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing, Dieter?
Dieter can't do.
Can't do, yeah.
But Eliza, at this point, again, just so sick of his shit, pushes him aside, takes a breath, and fucking yodels a yodel to save her life, which is literally what it is. So she yodels a beautiful yodel. And Dieter is like,
I'm going to marry you one day.
that was the moment I knew I would one day marry her. And we would yodel into the sunset together forever.
With her pet chimpanzee right by our side.
Why
so
is he always
random.
by our side? He literally will not leave. This is getting weird. So he does tell her
now.
Yeah, very adorably. He's like, oh my God, like that was really good. And she is like, oh my God, thank you. Ah, shucks. Picture for a moment. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening. We see them face to face being like, oh my God, thank you. That was really good. Thanks so much for the compliment. And while that's happening, Darwin is behind them being like, guys, excuse me. Because guess what? That yodel was loud enough to set off an avalanche.
Of course. But they're too lost in each other's eyes. Eliza like twirling her hair.
Twirling her pigtail.
Yeah. Dieter just like
Dieter just grabbing his lederhosen.
yeah.
But yeah, literally Darwin's like, as we see snow starting to tumble,
We're about
Darwin's
to die.
like,
We're about to die.
yeah. Finally,
Wow.
he does get their attention because the snow sweeps them up and they all just immediately start screaming, try to run, but it's an avalanche. They are children and a chimpanzee. So of course it immediately fucking catches them in an avalanche, which is terrifying. And it is like a huge one. Like truly we saw it like in the cartoon, like the entire mountain peak, just whoosh of snow.
Wow.
Yes. And so Dieter is yelling to Eliza to basically like try and keep your head above the snow, but it's slowly dragging her under. And in a moment of actual heroism, Dieter dives and grabs Eliza and is able to like get her and Darwin up from beneath the snow and kind of like wrangle them and tumble them out of the path of the avalanche. So luckily, I guess, this avalanche in its wake had brought them over the crevasse. So seeing that, Eliza is like, Darwin, you good? Thanks for that, Dieter. Let's go. No time to spare. And they run down to the Combi to get the family or hijack the Combi, I guess. I don't know what the plan exactly was to save this possum. And when they get there, the Combi bursts out of the pile of snow because it's in avalanche mode because the Combi can change to different natural disasters.
Yes.
And Nigel and Marianne are already at the wheel. They open the doors right away and immediately ask Dieter, like, where the fuck is your family? And Dieter, finally free of his family's spell, also maybe a hostage to Eliza and the Thornberrys.
Kind of.
Gray area. Basically, though, he jumps in the Combi and is like, they're in the clearing. I know how to get there. And
no, he's willing. He's not a hostage then. Yeah,
see, exactly. That's why I was like, it's a gray area, but like, he's like...
At first, yes, and then he acquiesced.
Yes, exactly. So they floor it to go to this this clearing, which like it was that stage setup, studio setup. Cut to, by the way. Like, it's truly flooring it through the woods, through this avalanche, et cetera, et cetera. Cut to Liesl and Debbie still just vibing in the back. So for a brief moment, house EDM music is the backdrop to this scene, and it works.
Oh, that's awesome. Like dodging an avalanche, going to save a platypus and a possum.
Like pure bass. But yeah, Liesl and Debbie
adrenaline like... running through the Thornberrys' blood.
Yeah, exactly. Debbie still like headbanging, Liesl still vibing. So, yes, as the Thornberrys and their child hostage / maybe Fensterkopf traitor, unclear, we see what Frida and Franz are up to. And they are indeed at that like stage studio set up in the woods. Frida is like getting all of the lights on, like getting all of the cameras to point. Again, it's like all robotic into literally a tiny little arena that they have set up. So again, full cage match.
This is insane.
Yeah, like full on. To like drop the animals in, they like literally have like a tunnel that they slide down, like full like gladiator style, like
walkout music for them.
It's the house music,
like in the house music, German EDM.
Yep. But I like, no joke, I was so stressed in this scene because the possum and platypus again are terrified and like are shaking. Like they get in this and it's like all of these like floodlights down on them, cameras like inches from their faces, and they're like we see them cowering again in the
Sarah McLachlan. You just see like her pan across the screen. Exactly. With that music in the background.
It's footage from the Fensterkopfs that is making this commercial.
Yes.
So yes, they're very terrified. I'm very terrified watching this. But then we see the Combi literally like explode onto the set. It's ripping down the scaffolding. The cameras go flying. Lights, everything is just like ripping down from the trees. Eliza and Darwin, full SWAT team style, burst out of the Combi doors, like sprint across, dodging all of like the falling equipment, and like each grab one of the animals, like no pause, grab them and run off the set to let them free.
God.
I know, it is wild. Frida and
intense
Franz,
EDM in the background.
Frida and Franz are like screaming and crying because all of their precious equipment is literally destroyed, like on fire around them. And in a moment that if I had been the writer and animator of this episode, because here's what happens. Everyone else walks out of the convy, and I wish that it had been slow motion with the house music in the background, because it's like smoke everywhere and like everything is in destruction. That I wish it had been like slow-mo, like Nigel walking out into like the flames, Marianne walking out into the flames, like boom, 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 bumping in the background. But they just walk out normally. But I would like you to picture it as I described instead, please.
I see it. I feel it. I see it.
See it, wish it, be it.
Yes.
Here we are.
Done.
Hilariously, Debbie and Liesl like step out, look at literally this like in like millions of dollars worth of wreckage and tech. There's smoke everywhere. The parents are crying on the floor, and they just go back into the combi and shut the door. No interest.
None.
So Nigel comes right up to Franz and tells him that he will be reporting him to the Ethical Board of International Naturalism or something like that, aka there's some authority somewhere that Nigel will be reporting this crime fighting ring to. So Nigel,
good.
Justice is being served.
Yes. He
Franz,
is the law here.
He is the law. Franz is crying and begging him not to, while hugging onto some like broken lights or something like that. Frida is like in the snow, finally showing emotion, and she's just like gathering her equipment, like crying, like laying in the snow. Eliza and Darwin come back from freeing the animals, and asks Dieter, like, oh my God, your parents gonna be mad at you about this?
Yes.
Like, they gonna be mad? In one of, I don't even know how to describe this moment. Sad, fucked up. Also, take the pin out that you put in earlier.
Oh God.
Because Dieter's response is, no, they won't even care about me. They are only upset about their fancy equipment being ruined. I wish I had parents like yours, Eliza. So like,
can I please marry into your family so that I can have parents like yours, Eliza?
So like straight up, yes, this child is psychologically abused by his parents.
Yes.
Because he admits it right here and is like, no, they won't care about me. They're crying. Not that like, was I safe in this crash?
Yeah.
They're hugging their equipment that's now ruined.
Yeah.
It is
and now
so
also
sad.
Safe to say that Liesl is also abused, but she is like older and is over it at this point. Like, oh, well, I have my EDM.
Yeah, I think she's gone into a shell of herself. And that's probably why Debbie's like, oh, you're so traumatized.
Yeah.
I can fix you.
That's hot.
That's hot. House EDM can fix you.
Yeah.
We can fix each other together.
And also, yeah, this is further proven by the fact that like maybe they don't realize that there was just an avalanche because it looks like or sounds like it didn't hit their film set.
Yes.
But like clearly there's a crash. Clearly something happened.
Yeah,
before like
loud.
that. Yeah, they are loud. And they don't even ask or like thank the Thornberrys for, I don't know, saving their children, keeping them safe, protecting them. So yeah, they're just like crying about this equipment. Wow, terrible. Terrible parents, terrible people. This does not speak on the entire German nation, but it's not a good look for you guys, let me say.
But just saying, pop culture. It's where we learn, things. And
sometimes art imitates life. Sometimes life imitates art. Which one is it in this episode?
the next Sarah McLachlan commercial, it's Dieter. In the arms
yodeling. Yodeling arms of an angel.
But he's too cold to yodel, so you just see him shivering on the edge of the cliff. Saves the German children.
Shoot. Dang it. I wish I knew what unit of like currency Germany used off the top of my head.
Francs.
Is it francs? Okay. For 5 francs per month. Your donation
can save a German child like Zita.
Me. From the wrath of my abusive parents. It's so cold. They don't even give me a jacket.
It's so cold I can't even yodel. Which that's how you know it's that bad in Germany. Yes. That's the true sign of an abused child. They can't even yodel in the cold.
Can't even yodel? Damn. Freezing you.
Yodel. So instead of Eliza being like, that's pretty fucked up. I'm sorry your parents don't care about you. Or like, you need a hug, buddy? Eliza's like, yeah, my parents do rock. Because I don't think she meant it this way, but I took it as the final one-upping of each other.
It's like, I will win this battle.
Oh, you had equipment that could tell us which cardinal direction you're going? Well, my parents don't abuse me. Like, I'm so sorry to make jokes about child abuse. It's not funny.
It's not, but honestly, she wins. That's the winning blow. Like, yeah, your equipment's really cool, but at least my parents love me. That's like the most epic burn ever.
Or at least my parents care about me. Yeah, like, she wins forever.
Infinite damage done to Dieter. HP totally depleted.
You just see his HP level just drop to 0. So, yes, as Dieter takes the final crush, the final blow that's gonna need years of psychotherapy. He should call Freud himself, another German, to help him recover from this blow. But then in the comm V, we hear the radio start buzzing, and Marianne picks it up and comes out to report that it was the Foundation coming to call them to say that their last film actually just won some international gold medal prize, confirming that their ragtag, no frills, truth-telling documentary style is the right path. Not USA / United Kingdom, I guess also Nigel, but we know that they live in America. That's their home base, propskis. Anyway. This was the Thornberrys D-Day. They stormed those beaches. Damn it. Took over. The studio set was the Normandy. The historical nerd in me wants to not say this. But whatever, keep going. I've already anyway. Said this is their D-Day. It's fine. Yeah, it's good. It's all good. So, yes, this is the way to win, not the violent fake news of the Fensterkoffs. And we leave the scene with Eliza and Dieter just going back into their little rivalry, and Frida and Franz just laying in the snow crying, surrounded by broken equipment. The end. Nice. That's it. Wonderful. Can't wait for the weddings. Yes. And so, yes, that indeed was my speculation at the end, is that I was like, oh, yeah, these two are for sure in love. Without a doubt. Yeah. But I mean, if I was Dieter, I would never forgive that last comment from Eliza. No, I would hold that forever. Yeah, like on their honeymoon, he just looks at her like, remember when you told me my parents don't love me? He's gonna save that for like 15 years into marriage, into like this huge fight. He's finally gonna bring it back up and be like, remember that one time when we were 10? Now he's one-upping Eliza. Yeah, that's the only reason he's held on to this. Yeah. That's the only reason. Actually, that's the only reason he was like, I'm going to play the long con. I'm going to make her fall in love with me now, just so one day I can hurt her as badly as she hurt me. Because I think this could also be, obviously, I think Frida and Franz are definitely some level of Bond villain situation going on. Yeah. I think this could actually be Dieter's origin story as well. If Eliza, you know, that there's like all of those different movies where it's like one moment can change the course of history, like butterfly effect style thing of like, if Eliza hadn't said that line, then they would have gotten married, had a beautiful life together. But she says that one deep cutting line, again, like only a preteen girl can do, cut as deep into the most vulnerable spot of you as possible. That all of a sudden Dieter just grows dark. And that's the moment that changes his trajectory to become an evil villain. So it could go either way.
Thanks, Eliza. End of the day, it's all her fault. Amazing. Wow. Most great job. It is. Amazing.
Yeah. Usually it's her fault, yes. So
that was another wild episode of the Wild Thornberrys. A lot of twists and turns. Straight up criminal activity, though. Lots of crimes, actually, both from Eliza herself and from the evil German Bond villains. I'm trying to think of the best Bond villain that they might be like.
I don't know any of the Bond villains, TBH. It just felt right.
Goldenfinger, LOL. That's Austin Powers' Golden Eye.
Coldfinger.
Coldfinger. Yes, Sean Connery, Coldfinger. Yeah, Mr. Snowman, or what's his name? Snowman. Just Snowman.
Okay, just Snowman. Yeah,
for people listening who just came across us like recently, they're probably, what the fuck are they talking about? Go back, listen to our Courage the Cowardly Dog arc and our holiday
Snowman
arc, and you'll know.
Is another Bond villain. Literally, because he's Sean Connery, which I guess was Bond. Whatever.
Anyways, great job.
So between now, thank you. And next week, who should our viewers and listeners tell about this? Definitely not offensive in the way I depicted German show.
No, yeah, we love the Germans, as we've talked about on this podcast in the past. Let's see. This week, I think in honor of our love towards Germans and German heritage and culture, tell a yodeler. Find one and let them know. For any of our Cincinnati fans listening, that shouldn't be too hard to come across. So
excellent.
Who should they tell?
Well, similarly, just thinking of what a German town Cincinnati is, I was going to say, try and tell someone from Cincinnati. You got a lot of fucking Germans in Cincinnati. Don't just suddenly turn and tell me. I thought you were about to do that and be like, okay, Grace,
have you heard of this podcast called Saturday Morning Mysteries that you host?
You're from Cincinnati. But yes, it's a very German town. There's plenty of folks to sell there, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
And
isn't it like the biggest Oktoberfest outside of Munich itself or something like that, or outside of wherever in Germany the OG Oktoberfest is held? I think Cincinnati has like the second biggest after that.
I could see that with no way to confirm it in this moment. I'd say, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're not German or Cincinnati historians, but I am willing to put this fact out there as truth, because again, we are all about hard-hitting facts. Do not mind the misinformation bar that's popping up underneath our YouTube video right now. And on that end,
we'll see y'all
next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.